Hi guys, in the world of spiritual world, hypnotist. What is a hypnotist? What is it about? What do they feel? What is this big thing about hypnotists? Now I've seen a few hypnotists on TV, and I have a perception and a thought what that kind of meant, but there are different ways and different levels of it. As you see, there's a screen here on the right hand side, and these people are going to tell you. And I appeared in this hypnotist video, and it's for anyone can join. However, I appeared in this to understand. I wanted to understand that it's simply all I wanted to do, because we hear words, but we don't know the meaning, or we don't understand. So for myself, I am going to leave you with this video, spiritual content, and also, the world of hypnotists. We have a professor in here, and very well-known people in here. So I'm going to leave you with that. Enjoy this interview, because it's amazing. So let me see what I'm doing here. So let me get to it. Okay, let's do it. Okay, bear with me.
More deaths than they've ever killed. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And as soon as they don't have them anymore, the diseases reappear in countries. Polio is coming back. A lot of these things are coming back because people aren't vaccinated. So anyway, I've said my thing on vaccines, and I'm really glad I've had my first COVID vaccine. I'm looking forward to having my next, and then being able to travel to Great Britain.
I'm here
well,
in Japan. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
If you travel to Great Britain, you might find you can't get out of Great Britain.
Well, I think I'd be very careful before I took a trip to make sure I could get out. But I do have a British passport and American passport, so surely one of those countries will continue to take me.
I don't have a passport at all. Mine's run out.
Well, it means that you maybe not want to travel.
I'd like to welcome Kerry, a new friend of mine I've only met today, and I've such a new friend. I can't even remember the name of the group now. What is the name of that group I've just joined, Kerry?
Mind over matter. Sorry, I'm trying to get on the laptop so I can get a bigger screen, but I couldn't get in on it, so I'm still trying. It's called the Mind Over Matter Project, also known as the MOM Project, suicide prevention. Yeah.
Yes, so we're talking about people committing suicide, because there's a lot of that happening right now. And I originally set this group up back last year, March, for people who were stressed out over COVID, but unfortunately I've had not very many members of the public coming in. I've had mainly hypnotists coming in, and that is sad, because the original purpose of the group was for people who were stressed out over COVID, but I've had precious few of them coming in. But it's good to have you here, Kerry, and running. You are one of the moderators there, aren't you?
I actually own it.
Well, that's fairly high.
Sorry, not the moderator. So there's the Facebook group. That's the Facebook group, but I actually run a not-for-profit. That's a not-for-profit organisation. So, and I'm a survivor, so of suicide. So I go in trying to teach people to not do it now and look at the behaviours.
Well, I've done that all my life. I don't know why, but they find me, and I stopped several people committing suicide over the years, and that's how I became a hypnotist, because people brought me all their troubles and started saying to me, Keith, surely you must be a hypnotist.
Keith.
And so I became a hypnotist eventually, and I've actually physically, I was telling you earlier on, I've actually stopped somebody jumping off a bridge on the 5th of August 2019, I think it was, down there in Kent, at the Lunsford Bridge. And exciting it was at 1 o'clock in the morning. And Andrew, welcome. Good to have you joining us again. Good to have you. But because we're a mixed group here, you've told us a little bit about yourself, Kerry. Would you like to tell us something more about your background, and then we'll go around the room and find out a little bit more about everybody else?
My background, would you want me to start? Right, I'm before you get to the end result, but I'm still here to tell the story. My childhood wasn't very good. My parents did the best that they could possibly do with the tools that they were given. Mental health wasn't discussed, and obviously you didn't look at the word mental health then, but if you look into it now, it's about behaviors and alcohol and relationships problems were never discussed, were they? So as a child, I was injured by behavior problems and experienced child abuse, child sexual abuse, child physical abuse, mental abuse. I experienced really unpleasant. It was really unpleasant journey, but nevertheless, your mind is oblivious to what's really going on. You end up learning or just dealing with it, getting through on a learned behavior. And it isn't until I was like a child trapped in a child's body, or never able to grow. I would look at my life now and how much I was plunging my life into different directions because I was masking secrets and never forming an identity of myself, because I was living in somebody else's eyes, or somebody else, whatever somebody else wanted from me or chose to do to me. So I think for me, you then from the child abuse, you go to the school, then bullying, and then you plunge yourself in another world, and then from that you go into domestic violence, and then it's just another, and then injustices, and then caught up with the law and things like that, and then homelessness, and the journey begins where you're uneducated about life, and it's been a struggle. It's been a real struggle, but in the end, what I did was, I think I was at my lowest point of the minute I was telling the truth about a situation of where I was being bullied as an adult. Nobody sort of knew what to do about it, or they didn't believe. And when you were faced with injustices, you find that you're fighting for your life. And in fighting for your life, you find that people make mistakes, and you come across personalities that just don't know what to do and can go to bed on your story or on your journey and not give a care in the world. And that's what you call neglect. And so I realized that there's a lot of neglect out in the world. And when people shut their doors on you, it destroys your life, because you're uneducated to what to do to get yourself out of that situation. I plunged myself in the middle of my crisis. I kept saying it was other people that was injuring me, and I had to stand up and take a stand against bullies and belittling and humiliation, discrimination, injustices. And I fought my way back with education, and I thought my way back for the people. It didn't matter about my life, but it mattered about, if they're doing it to me, they're doing it to other people. And so I had to implement change where I was in control. I could help the public with insight, in a sense, up against some of the battles that I've been up against. So I decided to put myself on the program of business entrepreneur, but the method is regain, recover, and rediscover. And I wanted to give people, through my story, hope that, yes, there's a past, but we can't let that claim our futures, and we do have to break the cycle and relearn. And so I built the project in 2019 and launched it to the community and had people come and tell their testimonials of what I'd managed to, how I speak a certain language to them, love language to them, for the understanding of growth. And so it made me wake up every day knowing that I was doing something to change someone. It made me get up and have something to live for, because I was giving people hope. And so I haven't stopped, even if tiring sometimes, but when you are a survivor and you've got a job to do, and that simply is to prevent other people from feeling the way you did at that point. So you can't stop until your calling's over, I'm afraid. As much as I'd like to switch it off, the energy that is within me doesn't. It finds the ideas all the time and solutions. So I like to network with people to find to give the public solutions to well-being. So that's what I'm doing. Yeah, sorry.
That's amazing, and I want to congratulate you and encourage you. It was very brave of you to tell us all that, and you're doing wonderful work, I'm sure. But I can hear in your voice, you're still, correct me if I'm wrong, but I can hear in the tone of your voice, you're still carrying a lot of that pain. Would you agree with that, or am I completely wrong?
I would agree that I'm putting in an environment right here in a virtual world, meeting new people, and first of all, you're quite the opposite of myself. Maybe the journey may be simpler, but one of the things with people that have been injured, they end up with a label like EUPD or BPD. If they've been abused, in a sense, you end up getting that label. So part of that label was unlearning the behavior, right? When I'm put into a new environment, I'm not healed, I'm healing. When I'm put into a new environment, meeting new people, I'm worried about your judgment. I'm worried about what you think of me. And although I shouldn't, because I know that I will come to terms when I get off of here and say, it's just a virtual world. It's just a virtual world. But I have to pep talk myself into positivity each time I interact with new people, because I don't know your alternative motives. And it's getting to understand who's genuine, who's not. And that's the way of my journey, is that even through helping people, you understand that it's behavior, and some people can be in it for own agenda, and then we'll just drop bombshells on you where you don't have to pick up your self-esteem again. And so it's being in control of openness, which helps the healing and helps other people identify other people's healing as well. So we're not just here for today, we're here on a journey to rediscover ourselves and be aware. If we don't have that awareness, then we keep making the same mistakes. So I'm grateful the fact that I'm actually honest with you guys, and you're going to take my conversation the way it suits, and that's okay.
Well, I'm glad that you're here. And this is going out on Facebook Live as well, so this recording will, is that okay?
Of course it is. I love the awareness.
Okay, so your story is very similar to mine, because I grew up through a lifetime of abuse in the home, in school. That's both physical and sexual and psychological. So I relate to your story very much. And I've also had a lot of trauma through my health and through accidents. And so I've had a long journey of overcoming. And it was a long time before I could even talk about it. And I hope my voice is not sounding strained or anything like that, because people comment on my voice. But it was a long time before I could talk about it without blubbering and breaking up and even crying when I would talk to people. And it took me a long time before I could do that. But I'm glad that I can do that now, because I'm able to help people. And but for a long time, I would do it by keeping my mouth shut and just listening to other people's stories, and that made it easy for me, because I couldn't modulate my voice, and so I just shut my mouth and just listened to other people's stories, which made it easy. But I am a hypnotherapist, and I am talking now. I've got a background in engineering. I've been on ambulance crew. I've been a driving instructor. I've done a bit of everything. I've been a financial consultant, and all the time I've been trying to find my place. And one time I was paralyzed from the neck down after I had a drunken driver one night, which didn't turn out too well. And as I said, I've been through sexual abuse in the family. I've had sexual abuse from neighbors. I've had sexual abuse at school, bullying. I've psychological and emotional abuse. I've been beaten up by teachers. I've been beaten up by classmates. I went through my entire school days without any friends at all. I still don't mix with people because I don't I don't know how to do it. So I live alone. I don't go out a lot. But when somebody's in trouble, I'm the man on the spot. I'm there. I'm happy to stand on a stage. And I've addressed a crowd of 1,000 people at the Orleans Casino in Las Vegas. And I thought, what am I doing? And I was getting a standing ovation, which was very strange because I'm a shy, retiring person. And here I am running my own Zoom meeting. This is the 54th one this time, which is completely not my character because I've got this background of social, emotional, physical abuse. And I'm smiling about it. And but that's me. Would anybody else like to have an opportunity to say something? It's not compulsory, by the way. You don't have to say anything if you'd rather not tell us about yourself, so it's not compulsory. But Joanna is our guest because she's going to be telling us later on about her new book or books, if she wants to. Would you like to tell us about your background, Joanna?
Well, I think I was very fortunate. British parents, and I was encouraged as a child. I daydreamed a lot and I sleepwalked, but I was encouraged. My mother was psychic, so I feel that my British upbringing was absolutely wonderful. I got to go to university in Scotland, and I've got friends from childhood. I go back to England. I teach in England still. I live in the States now, and I'm married and have been for years. And I feel very fortunate to have had a stable background, and I wrote about it in my Drain That Pain book. I am the founder of a holistic energy technique for chronic pain elimination. So I wrote a book about it, and I've just finished another book about it called Chronic Pain Elimination. So I've been writing ebooks during the pandemic, and quite a lot of them, because I know some things, having been in the hypnosis arena for over 20 years, just like Keith does. But it's very good to be able to put it in ebook format. In other words, the how, what, when, where, why. And people like that, you know, can you do that in 3,000 words? And I'm a big picture person, and I think I probably only have 3,000 words to say on any subject. So I've learned with dealing with physical pain that it's an extension of emotional pain, and all pain at its base is emotional. And I have an English client right now in London who I'm helping, and he had an accident 3 years ago, and I believe that he will let go. He's had dreadful leg pains and, you know, a disc type of an operation, and now they want to put a special machine in him so that the pain message can be reinterpreted. And my message to him is like, bring your intention tomorrow and we'll turn it off. And I know that we'll turn this fellow's pain off. And I'm also working now with a young man here who's accepted, would you believe, into Harvard at the age of 16. How about that?
Amazing.
Just brilliant. And I looked after his mother when she had cancer about quite a long time ago. And so now he's back with panic attacks. So here is this kid accepted into Harvard, you know, he's still at the end of school. I mean, he's just so stressed out. And it's like, I have to teach you to meditate. And sure enough, he's meditating and things are getting better. And so the techniques that we teach, Keith, are really amazing. And you know, I can get out of physical pain. I had a nagging hip for many years, but I always know when it happens, it means that at some level, I'm not moving forward. That's what the nagging hip means. And when I get in touch with that and release it, all of a sudden I'm moving forward. So I'm impassioned about what I do. I believe that people very easily heal when they align with what they want and they understand things, and that all suffering is about not being aligned. So we as teachers need to be helping people to get aligned with themselves and how brilliant they are and how magnificent they are, and to be aligned with their soul and realize that loving intention is the most powerful force in the universe. And we are going into a shift, and consciousness is increasing, and all of us are going there, and it's going to be a more aware, because when people get more aware, they become more kind, they become compassionate, and they become benevolent. And we're all going there, and we're all just the way showers is what we're doing. We're all way showers. We come in different formats and sizes with different skills, but we are people who help people to find their way. And it's emotional. It's emotional. And it demands that you believe in things that you cannot see. If you want to create your future, it's all about that, because you are what you believe. So you have to be able to tell a story other than your past. You have to have a new story. You have to get rid of the story. You have to get rid of the personality. You have to get rid of the ego, right? And the only way you get rid of this ego is never being the victim, or by never complaining, right? Because that's what the ego mind wants you to do. It hates the present moment. You know, meditation is all about being in the present moment. Eckhart Tolle, you know, amazing British man. But it's about being in the present moment, which is so thrilling that there is no ego anymore. Because the ego, if it's not given the time to give you a story, it's all the chatter in the back of your mind, it's the shoulds, your roles, and everything you're supposed to be doing. And all that stuff can so easily go away with intention. So that's what I help people to do. I help them to lucid dream. I help them with their spiritual journeys, and I help them with chronic pain and panic attacks. And I use some hypnosis.
Yes, it was my intention that got me back my body, because I had nothing from the neck down, and I had, if I was ever going to commit suicide, that would have seemed to me at the time the reason to do it, wouldn't it? But I decided I was going to get to the end of that bridge somehow, some way, some day. I saw myself walking, so I modeled all the people around me who were all walking. I thought that looked really cool. So I just watched what they were doing so I could learn how to do it. And that's why I'm here now, because I could see the other end of the bridge. And I was writing in your group earlier on about that bridge, wasn't I, Kerry? We just have to see the other end of the bridge. You're muted, Kerry.
And I was like, oh yes, you did, and you left a message, and I'm really against methods. And I thought, oh, even the fact that you mentioned bridge, you planted a seed of what someone can do. And so even though we know what you're trying to say, the message I deliver is, let's not plant those seeds, because that's how we learn. And so when I say don't promote the method of how someone tried to commit suicide, you promote the methods. And I was like, that's why I was like contacting you. And I was like, oh gosh. But I understood the journey and what the meaning of your story is. But I still have to say, we have an active duty not to promote the method. Does that make sense?
You want me to take that message down?
No, I want you to reword that message. I want you to just take out that method. The message is beautiful, but you've got to find another word where somebody won't use it to hurt themselves. Do you see what I'm saying?
Okay, I'll reword it.
If I
So
sat
instead
there
of a bridge, use a pathway, something.
Huh?
Instead of a bridge, use a pathway or something like that. So.
Yeah, because it's really easy to just promote a method by telling someone a story. Yes, when I tried to commit suicide, I did this. And the minute we do say that, we actually don't know who we're talking to. And we know that there are people amongst us within the community, even very close to us, that perhaps struggle, but don't tell you. That's the secret of it, isn't it? It's the secret of it. And the minute we have that conversation and hear and implement how we can injure ourselves, we store that. And then we're at our lowest of the lowest. Somebody might use that. And that's where I'm trying to educate people.
It might be better if I took out that story about me stopping that guy jumping off that bridge then.
No, I think the word is I stopped someone, or I saved a life, or I stopped someone and I prevented suicide. That's all the word that ever needs to be said. We prevented suicide, or someone committed suicide. We don't need to know how. We just know it's a tragedy.
Just take out the method, Keith. That's all she's saying.
Yeah,
so
just the method.
I stopped somebody from hurting themselves.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Is that understood? Because if when the newspapers deliver the messages, there was a suicide and they did it this way, it puts that message to our young children, and then they go and do it. And so,
that's the pink elephant concept, right?
Yeah.
The pink elephant concept, where you can't not think of a pink elephant when I mention one. So it's the same thing here. You don't want to put the image in someone's head.
That's right. It's all about the image, the thoughts we think, the things we visualize, and the actions we take.
Mm-hmm. I think I'll take the story out. That would be the best thing to do.
Keith, she said like 3 times, don't take the story out. Do you listen?
Yeah, Keith Anthony, reword the story in just those little snippets, because the story is inspirational. Don't hide it. Just learn to change the word.
Yeah. Yes, I don't know how I can reword stopping somebody jumping.
Well,
you stop someone. from killing themselves.
Yeah. Okay.
Good enough.
I'll work on it. I'll work on it.
Thank you.
Who would like, if you want this, it's not compulsory, but would anyone else like to tell us who they are? Are you with us, Joe? We can't see you. Would you like to come on camera? No.
I've got Joe. I've got Joanne and Jay and Andrew. Oh, is there one more?
Yeah.
Oh, and Joe. Joe.
I don't see Joe Cole.
Joe may be shy.
That's all right. I think anyone who comes on a Zoom, and if they want privacy, they want privacy.
Yeah. Okay. What about you? What about you, Professor Jay? Would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself? We already know you, but Joe
sure,
and Carrie don't.
Yeah.
I'm one of these who's done a lot of things in my life too. I was let's see, out of high school, I went into the U.S. Coast Guard. I was a diver for a couple of years. I went into work for the government as a clerk for a while. I ended up getting promoted to immigration officer. Did that for about 10 years on the north and south borders. That was fun. Been shot at a few times. They missed. Fun things like that. Got a number of knife scars, whatever. Then let's see what else. I left the government. I said, screw this job. Resigned. Ended up working for Walt Disney World security and doing training for them. And finished my university finally. Only took me 13 years to finish university. And got my degree in linguistics. So I went to work for a law book publishing company because of my experience with immigration plus my degree. Ended up becoming an editor and eventually executive editor of a law book publishing company. Then in the process of being at Disney, Epcot has this place that has all the countries represented. Well, I met my wife, and so eventually she said she'd like to come home. So we are here in Japan. So I've been here 15 years now. Started out teaching English and trying to reestablish my my hypnosis and such here because I had just started doing therapy in the States part-time when we moved here. But now I've got a completely different language to deal with and everything else, and it's been a struggle. So Sean Michael Andrews, the I guess fastest hypnotist or whatever is his title, but I was online with him one day and he was suggesting, well, why don't you do shows to get more customers? Since you don't have many customers, you can get them online now, right? Do a show? I've never done shows. Yeah, so 2014 I went to a club here in Kobe where I live and did a free show for a friend of mine, and they had fun, I had fun. So the next month I went out and I started trying to find people who might want to hire me for a show and charge them $1,000. And I got one the next month, and I've never really turned back because I can't turn down the money for the shows. And then after the shows, I get therapy clients too. So I've done about 200 shows since 2014. It's been a rather busy time, especially 2019 was incredibly busy. And then COVID hit. Boom.
Didn't it?
And it's been just over a year since I've had a show. So I'm back to teaching, which is why the professor is still there. I'm teaching Japanese universities. I teach English and some other things occasionally. And that's me. Oh, and now I'm teaching people. I just started a new training program in hypnosis online. I've been reluctant for a long time. I finally bit the bullet. I've got 8 students running through my beta testing right now, and then after that, we'll see if I can get it out and start selling it. I plan to do one after that on stage hypnosis as well. How to set up your shows, how to run shows, how to sell shows, things like that. And that's me.
Thank you, Professor J. Unfortunately, we seem to have lost Joe. Was Joe a friend of yours, Kerry?
Joe?
Joe Cole.
No,
No.
no, I don't know anyone
Okay,
here.
I didn't know whether you'd introduced her, perhaps, and given her the link.
No, I don't know anyone here. Of Joanne's.
But they can follow from Facebook too. So
I don't know how. Okay, Keith's connected with myself for purpose universe. So we're here now, and I love listening to what you're saying, Joanne. And Jay, your stories are like keep moving, don't you? You say that COVID hit, but it shouldn't have stopped you, right? But you enjoyed. Did you used to? You enjoyed that? You can still do it in the virtual world.
yeah, but yeah, most of my shows and such were done on cruise ships.
Okay.
And so the cruises like stopped, and the companies that I had booked here in Japan to go do shows and seminars for all shut down. They paid me my cancellation fees and just weren't going to book anything. And even online, a lot of places have been unprepared to do anything online. You know, now we've got the hybrid stuff coming up. Starting to see more and more of the hybrid type events going on. I'm glad to see that. I'm working with some place in Australia, but it's just been, yeah, from here, especially because I'm in Japan, they just, I don't know, they're reluctant to work with me.
Well,
you're that you're in a virtual world right here, aren't we? We're all here now. You're listening to some amazing, incredible stories.
Well, I did stage hypnosis for many years. I'm on YouTube as the trance lady.
I've seen some of yours. I like
Yeah,
those.
so I worked predominantly in the college market. And I retired when I found drain that pain, basically when I found chronic pain elimination. I said, well, I can take my other skills, but I'd really rather now like to concentrate on getting people out of pain. In other words, I've made them laugh, I've got them out of pain, but for me, the passion forward, the inspiration was, this is something that's coming in the new energy. Yes, we're not going to have pain pills in 50 years. We're not going to have that. We will have other ways of getting rid of pain. I absolutely know that. I absolutely know there's lots of people over the world, and we all do it in a different way, but we move energy somehow, and this is something that's going to happen. We will have coherence stages with hypnotists like myself and Keith and JT. We will have that where people come to get the vibe, they come to get the vibration, they come to feel it, and to feel the vibe of other people, and it uplifts them. And that's going to happen in the new energy. That's what we're moving to. And, you know, our children won't be going to war. It won't be happening in the shift. So yes, I'm woo-woo and out there.
So would you find you guys are quite spiritual?
Oh, Sorry, Andrew has to go. I'm sorry to hear that, Andrew. We didn't hear your story. But thank you for coming out. Oh, he's gone. It's a shame Andrew had to go.
That's okay. Would you find that you were quite spiritual people?
Oh yes. I would say that my relationship with me is more important than anything in my life, including my husband and child. But it's my relationship with my source is what's the most important thing in my life. Because unless that's good, then I'm not really, you know, my own vibration will suffer, and it's not going to be as easy for me to help others. So that, yes, I meditate daily, I teach all of that, I write ebooks on the subject, all of those spiritual subjects. I've written an ebook a week for the last 6 weeks. Meditation, lucid dreaming, chronic pain, all of that, law of attraction. So yes, I consider myself a person who is gradually letting go of their ego, because that is what awakening is. There is heaven here on earth. Christ had it right, but you don't have to die to get there. That's the whole point. You know, you can have heaven on earth, and it's about letting go of your ego, and that's what the Buddhists have done, and that's what the indigenous people have, you know, and we're coming back to that. It's going to be about our ability to cooperate with one another and to be compassionate. And I believe that. I believe that's what we're going. Look at all the things that are happening now in America. All of these issues are coming out. Injustices everywhere. And they've always been there, but right now is the time that it's coming to the surface. Lots of things.
And it is coming into your own, isn't it? Your own control. What's do the right thing by humanity. And this is what it's the big awakening for. I
awakening.
A big awakening. I feel a big spiritual working. And it's like, you know, when they say walking amongst the dead, or we're walking amongst the living, I look at that as when I'm walking or I'm in this world of humanity, I feel like I'm floating, especially particularly when I'm walking in a shop. I feel like I'm floating through life, but everybody has got the word mental health over them. So I look at the word behavior. Where are you? Who are you? Are you a guide or you're not a guide? And it shows. You can see the indifferences like never before. and it's hard to switch it off, because you want people to show that empathy and understand what compassion is. Understand what
people are beginning to do that, though. They're beginning to open up their hearts, and that's why this is all coming out now. I mean, the shift is happening. It's happening now. And it may take several generations, but it's going to be a different world as regards how we get how we use energy, and how all of that's going to change, how we deal with pollution, and how we protect animals and our planet, and all that's coming.
One reason why I posed the question spirituality is because if we got that belief we've got that belief. Are we sowing out our soul? In a sense, some people are making a choice on ego,
That's right.
fear.
85% of the world believes in the soul. Now that's pretty high. It's estimated 85% has the concept that we have our source within us. Now, I absolutely believe that I'm a spiritual being who came from the stars. And oh yes, it's beautiful here on Earth, but then we have these bodies to deal with. And really, they can be quite inconvenient dealing with these bodies.
But even you have people. So Joanna's a beautiful person. I have no argument with anything you said, Joanna. But I want to mention, you're at one end of a spectrum, and I'm kind of at the other end of the spectrum. I'm one of these kind of very scientific, very much, okay, evolution, et cetera, et cetera. And so I really don't have any belief in a God or anything, but that doesn't mean I can't be spiritual.
Right.
I think spiritual is something that's built into us. And it's something that I really have trouble kind of teaching some of the people that I have as students, because they're like, but how can you can be this very much, strict on all these scientific points and such, but how can you say you're spiritual? Spirituality is not just feeling, it's some connection we have.
It's a connection to a higher self. It's a connection that is more than you. It is a connection.
We may or may not have any proof, but I think there's something there.
Well, I believe a God inside. I believe that every cell of your body, and you have 50 trillion of them, that every cell of your body has a little bit of God inside.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. So you're at one end of the spectrum, I'm at the other end, but I'm not saying we're either one wrong. We're actually on the same path.
Well, yeah.
Because we're helping people the same way.
Take a look at the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Take the way you grow.
Believe me, I've known a lot. I'm not arguing with you.
Yes. But it's the same. We're not arguing at all, but it's all on the same page.
But the common thread we have is the hypnosis. The common thread we have is the human mind and the way it works, and the people's emotions are all dramatically a part of that. If I were to try and change people and not take into account spirituality, I would fail. And that's what I tell people. There's no way I can ignore that. It's real. Whatever you call anything else, it's real. That's part of us.
Well, people feel your vibe. They absolutely know where you are vibrationally. They absolutely do. They feel it. There's no way really. But we're all on our own path. You cannot get it wrong. You just get born again, right? You just keep on having life after lifetime of karma as you learn the lessons here on Earth that you are to learn.
Mm.
I mentioned I'm sorry. There's a delay, I think. Go ahead. Go ahead. No, I was just going to say, my wife is Japanese, and so her family is Buddhist. Yes. But like most Japanese, if you actually pin them down and ask about their personal beliefs, they'll say they don't have any. But then something happens, or whenever they're stressed out or whatever, they go to the temple and pray. It's like, what are you going to the temple for if you don't have any beliefs? Well, it makes me feel better. It helps me straighten out my life.
And they go,
and that's the belief right there. That's the belief right there.
They say they don't have a belief. It's just funny.
But they just told you, they gave you the answer. They just didn't know how to put it in the contents because they gave you the answer. What I'm going because it makes me feel better. So that was their belief there.
I know. But it's really, they're totally in denial about it. And it's like, I don't have any belief, but there's a problem. And they go, yeah, to the shrine, the temple, whatever. So yeah,
they also honor their ancestors. They have the holiday where they clean the graves. You know, you go to clean the graves, and yes.
Well, we usually do. Yeah.
I think we've all learned a way of learned behaviour through history and family, and actually it's no different than having to go to Sunday service because somebody has told you as a family that this is the right way to go. In actual fact, we have our own spiritual battles, and we come to light of what is right for ourselves, based on the design of what was wrong for ourselves. And as Joanne was talking about karma, how much karma when you have to believe in karma. I mean, you may not want to, but it's very true. You don't do to others what you don't want done to yourself. And if you have done it, you will actually, you can only relate to what something feels like if you've been there and experienced it.
If you haven't dealt with the issue, you're going to continue to attract it in your life. That's just the way the universe works. It's always like giving you what Abraham would Hicks would call a step one situation. In other words, it is one step back, two steps forward, but the universe, whatever happens to you, it's a wake-up call at some level. You learn something from it, you put out, you know, a rocket of desire, and then you have to manifest it by believing it. If you don't believe it, you'll never manifest. So that is the rux with humans. How do you believe things that you cannot see?
And even when you really think about it, I mean, I often put out about there's a thing about message, unwanted messages, and boundaries. And when you actually think about the way we're communicating now, we're actually communicating in a virtual world, which is designed to make you look at. She's talking to herself, isn't she? If nobody was in the room, you know, they wouldn't know that you was on a device. You're actually talking to a virtual world. But the minute I close down the laptop or press a button, what did that really happen? Did I meet someone? Because I actually haven't. What I've got is an image of you and a voice or something, some noise right now. But if I go to tell someone, yeah, I spoke to Joanne and Jay and Keith today. Who? Yeah, no, honestly, I was there. Prove it. It's again a virtual world. You know that somebody is temporarily.
But the whole world is virtual.
The
real one sometimes we share with other people. That's all.
Yeah, exactly. Apart from when the woman carries a child. And see, you men will never relate to that. Because when a woman carries the child for the birth of it, and if you remember, you go back to how we were born or how we developed, we are specimens. The specimen came in different shapes, different shades, different objects, you know. But we go to dust, we die. We're a spirit and it lives on. We come back into another life, all of those things. When you listen to the world of people telling you that they died and that something happened, those messages cannot be fake versus your scientific proof. Tell me when you get to the other side.
Certainly near-death experiences are very common, and they are awakening experiences where something happens and the person may have dreadful news. They're dying, you know, they've only got a little bit time left and they're going to die of pancreatic cancer or something. And then they walk out of the doctor's office and they know they're healed. It's happened in one moment. It's like suddenly they realize there's nothing to fear anymore. I don't have to fear anymore. And when people let go of fear, there's nothing to fear.
It's amazing and it's empowering.
I've had a near-death experience.
I'm sorry, Keith?
I've had a near-death experience, and I don't have any fear of death at all since then.
Yeah, it's really great.
Did you see any white lights?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so your story needs to be told, so let me hear. Come on then.
We don't want to hear it now, do you?
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah.
We're talking about life, aren't we? Isn't it?
Well,
Oh, sorry. It was
when I had my near-death experience, it was in an accident when I was hit head-on by a drunken driver, and when I was riding pillion on a motorcycle, and the rider of the motorcycle was a Hell's Angel, and I was launched over his back as the motorcycle went underneath the car, and I was flying through the air, and I was in these literally microseconds. I realized that the next thing that happened was going to be very horrible, and I just let go of my life, and I just said to myself in those moments, okay, this is it. And I released myself into the unknown, or I said, okay, God, here I am. In those moments, because I knew that the next thing that happened was going to be very painful, because I was heading head first into the curb, and I knew it was going to be very nasty. But at that moment, I was taken from the impact and went across into well, time stopped at that moment. You know, time is a construct; it's linear. Things happen in steps, don't they? You see me doing this; it's happening in steps, isn't it? At that moment, that stopped happening, and it's hard to explain. But I was transported to another place, and I saw the tunnel of light, and I was told by, let's call them angels, to not go to the left or the right. Don't be tempted by the darkness. Just focus on the light and follow the path to the light. And as I went along this path, you know, sort of floating or walking, I don't know what, I was tempted to go to the left and right because there were entities calling to me for help. And I'm the kind of person who likes to help people. And I was tempted to go off the path to help these entities that were calling and crying for help in the darkness. And that darkness was blacker than anything you can imagine. It was dense. It was really dark, and an emptiness that you can't describe. But I carried on towards the light, and I entered into heaven, and I went through a life review. Have you ever heard the term life review?
Dolores Cannon on YouTube is maybe one of the most famous people for regressing people back into life reviews and things, but she is well worth looking at and reading.
Yes, I know her.
Yeah, but Keith, continue.
Yes, I had my life review, and I was shown my life as it was from the beginning and beyond the beginning, you know, before the beginning of my life, and I was shown it throughout my life. So I was in coma for 5 days, but I was shown my entire life during that time, from the beginning to the end, and I was not judged on my life, but I was the judge of my own life. So I saw everything I'd ever done, all the good things I'd done and all the bad things I'd done, and I was shown not just from my eyes, but from the eyes of all the people that had interacted with me. So I got everybody's perspective on my life, and very sobering it was. And the way I was shown my life, I was in a room that had a brilliant white ceiling, halfway up the walls. It was wood paneling. And I remember thinking, this is very odd, because I was aware that I was going through a spiritual experience. And I'm thinking, what purpose is this wood paneling and the white ceiling in a spiritual place? It didn't seem very likely that they would have any purpose for wood in heaven.
You were lucid in the dream.
Yes.
Like a lucid dream.
I was going to ask you later on about your new book, which is Lucid Dreaming, isn't it?
Well, you're describing a lucid dream.
Yes.
You were in an observation capacity.
Yes. And I was thinking, while I was going through this process, I'm being shown things in a way as if I'm a child. I'm being shown things to help me understand. And my life review was shown to me as if it was in a very big, heavily bound book. And it was on a stone plinth, a fluted column with a lectern on top in this big book. But as I looked at it, I saw it in a video format, if you like, and I was immersed in it as I looked into this book. And it was all very strange, because I was aware that this was happening, if that makes sense. But I was thoroughly immersed into it as I saw my life review. And in this room, there were 3 characters in white robes with hoods over their heads. And I couldn't see their faces, but I had the impression that all 3 of these, or one of them at least, was Jesus. And I don't know why there were 3 of them. But after my life review, they walked me over to the wall, and there was this big door, and they told me to open the door and walk through it. And I refused. And they said, but you can't refuse, everybody goes through the door. And I argued with them, because I'm a bit of a stubborn person. And I think that's to my credit. That's why I'm here, because I'm stubborn. I don't give in easily. And they said, you've got to go through this door. And I said, but I'm not going to. I don't know what's on the other side. I don't know what's going on here. I said, there could be a bottomless pit on the other side of that door. It could be hell on the other side of that door. And they said, everybody goes through that door. Everybody always has gone through that door. But I refused, because I didn't trust them, because I didn't know who they were really. And I didn't know what was on the other side of that door. And I refused to go through the door. And I don't know what happened next, because the scene changed. When I say the scene changed, I say that because on Earth, everything happens in a linear step, because we have this concept of time here. But when I was there is no concept of time, and everything happens simultaneously. So I can't say that these things happened in separate steps. But while I was there, I also met all of my ancestors. And it seemed to me that if I thought of something, then it happened. Anything you thought of would happen as you thought of it. So if I thought of my grandparents, they would be there. If I thought of flowers, I would see them. If I thought of rivers, they were there. And so it took me many years to understand this. Sorry, I have to control my emotion. It took me many years to understand this. And it's only looking back now, 43 years, that I understand that we think that we're solid bodies, but we are pure thought, because everything we think about, we bring about. So we have to be, as human beings here, we have to be very careful what we think about. And I've been in pain all day, and that pain has gone now because I stopped thinking about it. So I'm bringing that pain upon myself unconsciously, and I've had a lot of pain in my life because I think too much about pain. So what we think about, we bring about. And I've had a lot of experience of pain going back to age 7, because that's when I had my first migraine, and I've been thinking about it ever since, and I've got to stop doing that. So what we think about, so when I was up there in, let's call it heaven, everything I thought about occurred and happened. So I thought about my ancestors, they would appear. If I thought about people on earth, they appeared to me. So when I was up there, everybody was still alive. I met them up there. And I do believe that's because we're all in heaven already. And are you okay, Kerry?
Yeah, I'm plugging me.
We are all spirit bodies. We think that we are physical bodies, but we're not. We have a spirit body, and when we understand that, we can project health. Now, I've had problem with arthritis throughout my life, and let me rephrase that. I don't have a problem with arthritis, because ever since I was 36, when I first had arthritis, the doctor said, "You can't do anything about this." I said, "Yes, I can." And so I projected my arthritis healing, because I had arthritis in all of my fingers, my elbows, my knees. And I just said to my doctor, "I will fix it with my mind." And I did. And more recently, I had a problem with arthritis in my right hip. And I told my doctor was talking about getting a new hip. I said, "I won't need a new hip, I'll make one." He said, "You're mad." And but I've got a new hip. It completely replaced that right hip joint just by visualizing it getting better. I thought, I don't want that pain. I don't want a plastic hip. Because my father's had 2 plastic knees and he was still in pain. So I just projected with my spirit body a new hip, because I equate the spirit body as a projector, and I imagine projecting onto a screen. With a projector, you can project wonderful images onto a screen, can't you? Mm-hmm. And that's all I do. At the same time, you can project some pretty dismal images onto screen, and I avoid watching disaster movies. And I avoid watching these movies with shoot 'em ups where you get hundreds of bullets coming out of a machine gun and the hero doesn't die. They don't even hit him. Let me tell you, and Professor J, you've been in the military, haven't you? If you had a machine gun, the bad guy is going to die, isn't he? You're not going to miss with a machine gun, are you?
Actually, you'd be surprised.
Really?
You'd be very surprised with how hard it is to hit somebody with real weapons.
Really?
Actually, I was in a virtually point blank gunfight with someone, and
yes,
we were about 3 meters apart,
yes.
and he fired 6 shots at me.
Really?
And he didn't hit me.
Right.
And there was nothing between us. He emptied his weapon, and there was nothing I could do, and he didn't even hit me.
You're lucky it wasn't me, because when I use my spirit body and make a decision I'm going to heal, it works.
Yeah, so it's just, you'd be surprised.
You had some ninja moves.
High-stress situations, people can't aim.
You had some ninja moves, Jay. You just did the ninja thing.
Bloody lucky.
I didn't get to the best bit of my story.
Well, we're waiting.
The best bit of my story was when I met, I call it God, because everybody relates to God. But when I met God, I and I use these terms loosely because you cannot describe what it's like when you meet God, because God is everything. And I prefer to call him the creator.
Yeah.
And the energy that is God, because if you can say that God is everything, then you can imagine that it's taller, deeper, wider, bigger than anything you can imagine. So if I said that I was standing before God, that's a nonsense, because God is everything, everywhere. So if it's that big, how can you stand before it? But I had the impression I was standing before God, and it was bigger, taller, wider, deeper, huger than anything you can imagine. And I was lucid, imagining what the Bible says, that if you look into God's face, you'll be blinded. But I looked into God's face after a time, and I wasn't blinded. And then I walked forwards, thinking I would walk into God, but that was nonsense, because he was all around me. And I turned around, realizing that it's just bigger than me and it's everywhere. And I realized that I was God, and because God is everything. And I can tell all of you listening, and if you're listening in the recording on Facebook, you are all God. Everything is God.
We all have God inside.
That's right. The Bible, I'm not saying I'm a believer in the Bible. There's a lot of that. I don't wish to offend anybody, but a lot of what's written in the Bible is misleading. And I call it a book of riddles. But there's a lot of truth in the Bible as well. But we are all of God. We're made of God. The Bible tells you that God is within you and without you. And that gives us great power when we understand what it means. And the Bible tells us that we can move mountains. And that's a metaphor. It's there telling us that if we can get our ego out of the way, we can do miracles. And I use this word "I," that's the ego, but I have witnessed miracles that I've been involved with, including a dead man coming back to life. And Jay saying, "Thou art God, I am God," and all that. And the message is gone. Where's it gone? Is it in the chat box?
Thou art that God.
The chat box.
Yes.
It's in the chat box.
It's one of my favorite things.
Yes.
Yes.
And
Grox is a word to mean totally comprehend. So you totally comprehend something. You are grokking. So.
Oh right. Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Thou art God, and I am God, and all that groks is God.
Yes.
But you can see God in a beautiful moment, and feel God in a beautiful moment. God
there's
is
no.
always
I've always said there's no face to him.
Yes.
Right.
Why do we say him then?
Well, it isn't a him. It's everything. It's not even. You can't even call
remember,
God,
I'm this skeptical, disbelieving type, but I still like
everything. God is everything. It's not a him or a her or an it. It's everything. But the
Jay,
thing,
you said you disbelieve.
No, I don't.
You don't believe. You said you
I
had
don't believe. I don't believe there is a God.
but you
There's
believe
no
there's
God
experience.
looking down on us making changes. I can't believe that. I can't believe there's one answering prayers and such. That doesn't mean I can't believe that there could be
hold on.
something
Can I put it in another
that we're
way then?
part of. That's why I have to distinguish. I'm not a believer in any sort of a personal God.
Mhm.
However, I am a believer, if you will, in some sort of a spirituality that goes through all of us. So that's why I said I love this phrase. This is one of my favorite phrases. I've memorized it, you can tell. Just type this from nothing. And it's from a science fiction book. But it really hit me, this phrase, because in the book they're explaining what Grux is and all this, but it's kind of an interesting story. But the sensation, the feeling of being oneness, that the Buddhists have as well. We are all one. So to the Buddhists, you see islands, in the ocean, but all the islands are connected.
it's a collective awareness, a collective intelligence.
Collective
Whatever you
awareness.
want to call it, that I can follow it. I can fall in line with that. I can say, okay.
Yes.
So if you want to be picky, I guess I could be considered a theist.
And although it may seem impossible to some people, it is based on a loving energy. It wants us to grow, to succeed.
Sure, because we're all one.
Yes.
It wants everybody to succeed.
Yes. Although there are those of us who have used it for destructive purposes.
Well, it was Descartes who thought that, I think that, therefore I am. But if he'd gone a bit further and meditated a bit more, he would have found the emptiness when you let go of all thought and personhood and let go of your story and everything, and you feel that alert stillness. And that, for me, is the true self, where there is no ego, there's no judgment either. There is no judgment whatsoever. And that stillness is the soul. That is you. That is the I am that I am. I mean, that's Eckhart Tolle, who I listen to. That's also Muji, who's wonderful. But I feel that, and I help clients get to that space that they are just feeling themselves. Because when you feel yourself, there is no beginning, there is no end, there is no manipulation, there is no judgment. It just is. And that, for me, is one of the best feelings in the world and the reason to learn meditation. Because when you close down the ego mind, then the intuitive mind and the pineal gland, this mind opens up, and you can simply follow it on to bring you more and more love in your life and everything else that you want. That you have to reach, I think, a point of just saying, I am going to meditate, because we all have difficult days, but they're very much easier when you meditate.
Yes.
Me, anyway.
Also, there's several kinds of meditation too. So some people say, I can't meditate I can't get into that. You know, there's the completely denial of self meditation, like Japanese Zen. There's mindfulness meditation where you're
however you do it,
concentrating
it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
But
there's
the
different
intention.
forms. Guided meditation, where you, essentially it's more or less hypnosis, so
yes,
guiding
it's
somebody
hypnosis.
through the experience. You know, so there's a variety of different things. And the funny thing is that despite whatever, we have been able to show through research that all of those are good for you.
All good for you.
The only
Anyway,
one to
on
be
that
careful is
note-
maybe mindfulness meditation. There have been shown some negative effects on some people from mindfulness meditation because it increases their anxiety. So if you have someone whose anxiety seems to get worse through a form of mindfulness meditation, switch them to something else. It's just something to bear in
It's the
mind.
wrong metaphor.
Yeah,
What-
switch them to
what-
something else.
what-
That
yeah.
one's not good.
But why would you
I'm
switch?
a,
Why would you switch them? Because then that it would literally. That's the fear, isn't it?
No,
And
no,
we can't go
mindfulness
forward.
meditation. The research has shown the mindfulness meditation has literally driven some people to the verge of suicide.
What is
It's
mindfulness meditation?
it's made a positive feedback loop with their anxiety. So
I have
they're
to
aware
leave.
of their anxiety, and the anxiety becomes worse because they're aware of it, and they're aware of the anxiety increasing, and it just gets worse. So they've actually had to cut some people off of some of the research because of fears that they were going to kill themselves and such.
That's in the USA, is it, Jay?
That was in the U.S. Yeah, that's
sounds
recent.
sounds very.
I follow the
very
research.
USA.
Yeah, I follow the research that's online. But
Bye, everyone. I have to leave. But
Oh,
thank you
bye,
so much.
Jay.
Oh, that's
Right.
sad.
Good
And
meeting
you
you
didn't,
all. I left
you
a
didn't-
note.
well, happy
didn't tell us
Harry
about your
Houdini
book.
Day to you.
Hannah.
Yes. Yes, I've got lots of books. I'm Joanna Cameron. I'm all over YouTube. I'm on Amazon. But it's really nice to meet both of you and chat tonight. Thank you,
We'll see you
Terry.
again.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Keith Anthony. Always. We'll see you again. Bye.
Pleasure.
Bye.
Wow. That was amazing. So you can hear me here in the background, but just stop that a bit as well. So yeah, amazing, absolutely amazing. Just an experience to be there and listen to him. I'm sorry if it's a little bit glitchy, but I can still hear it in the background. And you know, I don't know, it's technology trying to interrupt that important message of knowing oneself. You know, what is life about? It is about, you hear the words ego in there, you know, and that's it. Can you let go of your ego? You know, when someone does you wrong, sometimes people want to seek revenge, and it really can unsettle because you want the last word, you know. And sometimes you have to learn to switch that and say, you know what, does it really matter? Or it's meant to be. Just leave it, because drama creates negative energy. And so when we're looking at success in life, the more positive, the better the outcome. Earlier I posted, you are the thoughts you think, the things you visualize, and the actions you take. So in other words, you paint a great picture of what your days are going to look like, and you plan ahead. So it's not easy just to talk about it. You really do have to plan ahead, and that is to create a vision board. A vision board helps you get to your destination. It's a bit like looking or reading instructions. And when you're reading instructions, you follow those instructions, don't you, to get to where you need to go. And that's about creating a destination. What is your plans? Where are you going? And you'll find that a lot of people stuck in depression don't make plans, and so their tomorrows look exactly what their todays was. So we have to change the outcome by implementing planning. Planning creates change. You want the answers are really within you. If you want to do something, it's like a diet, isn't it? Some people are on a diet, some people are not. They would like the motivation to lose some weight, but they don't start it. This is just an example. And it's when you hear someone saying, I am overweight, well, there isn't anybody that anyone can do anything for you. Obviously, to change the outcome means you're in a bad place. Let's address where this emotion is coming from, where you're, not eating healthy. So therefore, what you would do is you're the only one who implement change and structure. It is you that can only change your life. No different to people with going to a doctor. Hello, I don't feel very well. What can the doctor actually do for you in your four walls 7 days a week? They're not there for you to guide you in that way. And giving you a tablet is not going to cure the problem. So to implement change, you have to plan and do a vision. So if you can easily make a doctor's appointment, then you could have made an appointment with yourself to do something creative and magical and amazing. And if you could do that on a regular basis, you will start to change life. I wake up, I'm more vibrant now because I'm on a mission. I'm on a mission. And as long as I'm on a mission, I'm activating my brain. And it's making me happy. Yeah. Little and often. So Professor JT and Keith Anthony Taylor and Joanna Cameron. It was a pleasure to understand and listen and be a part of something that is just food for thought. It's a thought. It's a thought. What you do with the things that you think is entirely up to you. So thanks for watching, and take care of yourself. And remember, and I was addressing this about promoting the method. If you are somebody that try to do something in your life, take your life, you don't need to be telling your friends who, by the way, just like you, may have been masking a secret. So you don't need to be telling your friends how you try to take your life. So let's just less of the taking of the life, less of the self-harm. Talk, replace the self-harm with talking, replace the drink with talking to someone too, because that also is a key element of self-harm. Okay? So the drugs, same thing. And you cannot really, at the end of the day, continue life in that pit. If you want to get out of it and you want change, then hey, there's plenty of opportunities to seek support. Here you go. Somebody here, me, show you the way of how to get well. There's plenty of opportunities for help. People in different areas, whatever your problems are, what you're going through. We're not just here for the mental health, here for the fitness, for the body, for your weight. We understand it's not just about weight. Let's lose some weight. Let's try. Or I'm overweight, I'm overeating. It's about getting your mindset right. And perhaps you need a bit of planning. So planning is everything. Take care. I'm Kerry Mussington. #Mom. Mom Project was brilliant, isn't it? Yeah. Does lots and lots of awareness. Meets great people. People that are doing something to help with health.